Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Monday, May 1st, 2023. Stand up for your country. Special welcome to all our new premium and concierge members on BillO'Reilly.com. We have a couple of thousand new members after the Fox debacle, and we are very happy to have you with us. I think you're going to find us a very solid source of information, and of course, information is power, and you need to protect yourself and your family because we're in for a little rough time in the next 12 months, that's for sure. Now, we're going to talk with Chris Cuomo today about the Democratic Party and his family, as you know, one of the stalwarts of Democrats for decades. And you may know that he is my debate partner Wednesday night on NewsNation. So he was almost forced to do this tonight. So we will have an interesting conversation. The Talking Points Memo is more bad news for the American media. So the Associated Press, in association with the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization, has put out a study. It's an interesting study. I'm going to give you the highlights. 3/4 of American adults say the news media is increasing political polarization. Okay? Just under a half of American adults say they have no trust in the media's ability to report the news fairly and accurately. 4 in 10 say the press is hurting American democracy. Now, those are pretty strong numbers from an organization that is not conservative, to say the least. 1/3 of American adults say they see stories with false claims from politicians or misleading headlines every day. 6 in 10 say the news media bears blame for the spread of misinformation. Okay, so these numbers are true in my opinion, based upon my expertise and analysis of the country. And the reason is that corporations now have taken over the television news industry. They were always in charge from the time television was founded, Edward R. Murrow. All right, the corporations were always in charge. But there was a firewall between the actual journalism and the corporate offices. All right, they weren't supposed to intrude, the profit makers. But that is broken down 100%. And now the so-called journalists who work for corporations in many cases are told what to do. And a lot of people think, well, it's all based on ideology. It's not. Most of it's based on profit. And we saw that with the Fox News Dominion lawsuit, that Fox was worried if it told its core audience that there wasn't proof that their election was a fraud, that audience would go over to Newsmax, which was pretty much saying that it was a fraud. And so Fox decided to go along with that and got into all kinds of trouble. And the unintended consequences are going to ripple out for the next year or two. This is not over. Now, let me give you 2 very clear examples of how the corporation intrudes on the media's honesty. The first on the left is climate change. All right. So people believe what they want to believe. And now every storm that occurs in the United States is because of climate change. Every snow, every rain, every wind, every tornado, every hurricane, it's all climate change. The left buys into that. And the President of the United States, the first thing he did when he took office was attack the fossil fuel industry. You'll all remember that. And he's passed, from our calculation, almost $400 billion in spending on fighting climate change. The unintended consequence of that was a spur of inflation. You saw inflation whip up as the gas prices went crazy because the future market in the oil industry went up and because President Biden was attacking it with regulations and everything else. That's on the left, and that has influenced and affected every single American that does anything. On the right, you have election fraud on January 6th. Again, people believe what they want to believe, and many Trump voters did not want to believe that he lost the election to Joe Biden. It was a close election. 4 states, and the vote margins in those states were tiny, infinitesimal even. So many of the Trump voters refused to accept the electoral count as legitimate. That's where the Dominion voting machines came in. Okay. The second one is January 6th. And this is where Tucker Carlson got into trouble. So people believe what they want to believe, and some on the right raised the specter of a false flag operation that was driven by the FBI or whoever. They caused the intrusion, the riot at the Capitol. And, Ray Epps and on and on and on and on. So when you back or put yourself out to a theory, and there's nothing, by the way, wrong with believing the election was a fraud. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But you can't say it's fact. The false flag operation on January 6th, that's even shakier, because there really isn't anything that indicates that. On the left, Biden's $400 billion in spending, what has that reaped? Chaos in Texas. The wind couldn't keep up. And again, driving the traditional fuels to a point that punishes Americans. Now, all of this should have been reported accurately by the media, and it was not. It wasn't. Russian collusion wasn't reported accurately. It's what the management is telling you to do for profits. MSNBC could not exist if it covered the news in a fair way, because its audience is 95% liberal. Fox News' audience is 95% conservative. When I was there, it was 50% conservative just 6 years ago. 50% conservative when I was in a chair at 8 o'clock. Now it's 95%. Big money to be made in those precincts. Okay, is there any solution to this? No. The First Amendment covers expression, freedom of expression. Corporations are just going to say, look, we have the right to sue whatever we want. Now, if you want to sue us, go ahead. And Dominion did and won $800 million. So, yeah, you can get them, the charlatans in the media, but the government can't stop it. You can stop it by not watching. And we'll have a little bit more on that later. So summing up, this AP Kennedy Center study, I believe, is accurate. I do believe the media is now hurting democracy in this country. And that's why we're here. Because we don't do any of that. And that's the memo. Now, ABC News, let me give you an example. Both Chris Cuomo is coming up and I work for ABC News. So they censored an interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's an anti-vax guy. Okay? So ABC knew that RFK Jr. was going to come in and whack the vaccines and link it to autism. They knew that was going to happen. And they assigned a woman named Lindsay Davis to interview RFK. And it's exactly what RFK did. Okay? He went wild on the vaccine, and it's this and it's that. And ABC cut it out. Instead of Lindsay Davis doing her job by saying, look, here are the facts that I've compiled, and you're full of bull, like I do, just call Barney Frank, okay? They cut it. Now, ABC News says that they did it because he made false claims. You knew he was going to make false claims. Let the audience decide. If you're going to put a person on who's made claims that are dubious, let the audience decide. Have your reporter challenge the person. Don't just cut it out. LA Times last week. This is a huge scandal. All right, their White House correspondent, Courtney Sobremenia, or something like that, apparently told the Biden administration what she was going to ask the president. And they said, okay, Courtney, you get the first question. How do we know that? Because Biden had her question in his hand. A photographer shot at the president with a picture of Courtney and the question. And are you kidding me? So the LA Times, our reporter did not submit any questions in advance. You know, the LA Times it's not worth your time. Okay, let's just be kind. Courtney herself has said nothing. But this is an unbelievable example of media irresponsibility. All right, Joe Biden today had two things on his schedule. He delivered remarks on a National Small Business Week. And then Ferdinand Marcos Jr. comes to the White House for a dog and pony show. The USA needs the Philippines in a struggle with China. And that's why he's there. So former Chief of Staff Ron Klain, okay, he resigned and now he's making big money at a law firm in D.C. He went on with a leftist internet person named Kara Swisher. She's about as far left as you can get. And Klain talked about Vice President Harris. Go.
Well, I do think sexism and racism are part of the problem, no question about it. I think that, I think she was not as well known in national politics before she became vice president. And, I think that, she just hasn't had the right, she hasn't gotten the credit for all that she's done. She's done a lot of very hard work and been very successful as vice president.
How? Ms. Switcher doesn't ask. Doesn't even ask. How has she been successful? That's not the perception of 65% of the American public. The perception is she's in over her head and doesn't do anything. How? Okay? So anyway, this is the kind of stuff, and that's on the internet. I wanted to give you that thing. But racism and sexism is part of the problem. If you criticize Kamala Harris, you're a racist or a sexist. Of course. Hey, you would be crazy not to use Amac's Medicare Advisory Service if you're 65 or over. Amac's Medicare Advisory Service is the conservative alternative to radical left companies like AARP. They offer free consultations with qualified Medicare experts who can answer all your Medicare questions, and I'm sure you have plenty. Even if you're already on Medicare, contact Amac to see if you are overpaying for your current plan. There's no cost, no obligation to change plans, and no radical left agenda. Do business with people who have the same values you do, people you can trust. Forget the TV commercials and mailings advertising Medicare services. Go with a company that not only offers you dozens of Medicare choices, but also looks out for your interests without the woke nonsense. So please visit Amac's Medicare Advisory Service at amac.us/trust. That's amac.us/TRUST. Let's go to the mail. Joseph on the message board. Bill, you're correct in saying millions of voters don't really understand or care about America's leadership because they live in bubbles. And our mainline religious leaders do not add any clarity. Interesting. You're right, as far as my experience is concerned. I go to Mass every Sunday. I never hear any kind of linkage with the gospel or the epistle to modern day. I mean, it's like stunning. James, sadly, there's a tremendous number of young people in the nation who refuse to watch the news or make any effort at all to understand the destruction of our nation. Daniel Frierson, Troy, Ohio. I'm with you, Bill. Joe Biden's not all there. His fumble on Ireland shows that. Lee, concierge member. Lee gets direct access to me. Check that program out. It will enhance your life. Who are the idiots representing 41% in the CBS poll? That is ludicrous. 41% of the population is Democrat, and they'll always vote Democrat, no matter who's the nominee. That's just it. Dean, my adult children cannot stand Donald Trump, and they won't recognize one word of Biden's deficiencies. They are smart, well-educated, and hardworking, but have become blinded. Happens. there's nothing you can do but do it with humor, but it happens. Chris Collar, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I watched Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s 2024 presidential run announcement, was impressed with his historical knowledge and perspective. He's a smart guy, but he has no chance at all to unseat Joe Biden, in my opinion. Jay Nordstrom, Madison, Alabama, thank you so much for the "Are you okay?" response. This is brilliant. If somebody mocks you, all you say is, "Are you okay?" That's all. Chris Breen, Las Vegas, I would be singing "Hey, hey, hey, goodbye" when The View is finally off the air. Okay, The View, this is a progressive show. It's Disney Corporation. No balance. Jim Fredericks, New Berlin, Wisconsin. The Biden administration is about to tack on a $40 a month mortgage tax on home buyers with good credit or to subsidize borrowers with bad credit. That's government mortgages, not private. Just know that. Okay, know that. Phil Hoderling, Parker, Colorado. You mentioned that Fox does not want Trump to be president. Why? Their management, the ownership doesn't. They want DeSantis. I haven't talked to them, but they're public about it. John Browning, Allen, Texas, another former Fox News watcher here. We just signed up for premium membership. Watching the No Spin News is like coming home. Your thoughtful insights always make us smarter, and your gentle humor leaves us smiling. What a nice letter, John. I appreciate that. We're glad you're here. You and thousands of others, new subscribers. Okay, if you buy anything in our store at BillO'Reilly.com, you get 2 free bumper stickers. Atheism, nothing there. Okay. And it's a fight back against the secularists that mock religion. This is a fight back with humor. Okay, Mom and Dad's Day's coming up. We have great women's Team Normo polos, white. We have them in navy. They're fabulous for Mom. And if you buy them, you get a free audiobook. Any of my audiobooks, free. What a deal. What a great deal. Mom's Day. And for Dad's Day, we got tons of stuff. You'll see it there. Word of the day, do not be temerarious. 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 New word. Don't want to be that. Back with a final thought on summer in a moment. Well, you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic. And now you could qualify for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. This is not a loan. You don't have to pay it back. Nobody knows about this more than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front. They do the work and share a percentage of the cash they get back for you. Even those businesses who took PPP loans can qualify. Nonprofits and churches as well. So let covidtaxrelief.org help you get up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org. That's covidtaxrelief.org. Okay, final thought of the day. Last chance this week to make summer vacation plans. I'm telling you, everybody's moving this summer because the COVID's gone. So you're going to Europe, you're going to go Canada, United States, the national parks. Almost all is sold out now. So my son got accepted to Oxford. Proud of him, much smarter than his old man. I had to get him over there. I got the seat on the plane in early September, but it wasn't easy. So if you want to do something, because I don't want you to be disappointed, if you've saved up and you got a vision of making summer, fun, you want to go someplace, got to do it now. I mean, it's so frustrating. You got to do your hotel, you got to do your airfare, and you got to do your rent-a-car. Okay? So you got to really sit down. If you think you're going to do it last minute, you're not. God, everybody's on the move. Everybody needs relief. That's what it is. This is a relief summer. After COVID and all crazy Biden administration and stuff that's just off the wall every day. People need a break, okay? And I want you to have a nice vacation, so that's why I'm hammering this. Got to think it out, make your reservations now. And if you're going someplace extensive, get trip insurance. It costs you a little money, but boy, it's going to save you at the back end if something bad happens. Now, tomorrow we're going to give you the airline thing that I didn't have time for today, which is important for you to know who you're giving your money to. Okay? All right, thank you very much for watching and listening. 100 radio stations now carrying the No Spin News. And we will see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.